Imagine waking up one morning with the crushing realization that the life you've been striving for, the success, the relationships, the sense of fulfillment isn't as fulfilling as you thought. Everything looks fine on the surface. You have what many would call a good life. But beneath it, there's an underlying emptiness, a gnawing feeling that something is missing. And as you sit there, staring at the reflection in the mirror, a question hangs in the air, unanswered. Why does this feel so incomplete? You've worked hard, you've conquered obstacles, yet, in the quiet moments, something feels wrong. It's as if you're constantly striving for more validation, more accomplishments, more status, but the deeper you go, the further out of reach real satisfaction seems. You want to change, but change feels impossible. You're stuck. Now, ask yourself, why is that? Why, despite all your efforts, does the feeling of fulfillment always seem just out of reach? Why does your potential feel so constrained, as if there's an invisible wall you can't break through no matter how hard you try? The answer, though elusive, may lie in a concept so close to you that you cannot see it: your ego. It's not just a matter of arrogance or vanity, it's far deeper than that. It's a construct, a self-image that you've painstakingly built over your entire life. A lens through which you view everything, including yourself. But here's the paradox. The more you protect this ego, the more it limits you. Think about it. You are constantly seeking approval, validation, and certainty to feel whole, to protect this fragile identity you've created. But in doing so, you are tethering yourself to the very thing that prevents you from growing. Your ego tells you to conform to societal norms, to stay safe, to avoid discomfort at all costs. It convinces you that you are what you have, what you do, and what others think of you. But here's the paradox. The more you cling to it, the more you lose yourself. So why does it work this way? Why does the ego, which seems to protect and define you, end up constricting your true potential? And why is it so difficult to break free from this invisible cage? You may feel like you're slowly suffocating, but you don't even realize who or what is holding the key to your freedom. The ego is so subtle, so ingrained in every action you take, that you may have never questioned it. But now, this question lingers, demanding your attention. What would happen if you could step outside of it? To explore that question, we must first uncover the hidden problem, the very roots of this ego, and how it's been quietly shaping your life, often without you even realizing it. Let's dive deeper into its psychological and philosophical underpinnings. To understand why your ego limits you, we must first recognize something unsettling. The ego is not the real you. It's a construct, a delicate structure, pieced together from the moment you were born, built out of survival mechanisms, social conditioning, and cultural expectations. The problem lies in the fact that this self-image, this illusion of who you are, isn't something you actively choose. It's something that's been imposed on you slowly, almost imperceptibly, by society, by your upbringing, and by the world around you. Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers on the human psyche, argued that the ego is necessary for survival. It's what helps you function in the world, navigate relationships, and make decisions. It's how you organize your thoughts and experiences, creating a sense of coherence. But here's the catch. Jung also warned that if you identify too strongly with the ego, if you confuse it with your true self, you fall into a dangerous trap. You begin to live for the ego, protecting it, feeding it, elevating it, and in doing so, you lose touch with the deeper, more authentic aspects of your being. Jung referred to this process as the shadow, the hidden, repressed parts of yourself that the ego refuses to acknowledge, the parts of your psyche that don't fit into your idealized self-image, the emotions and desires that society deems undesirable or weak. Instead of integrating these shadow aspects, you suppress them, allowing them to fester in the unconscious. As a result, they subtly control your behavior, shaping your thoughts and decisions in ways you may not even be aware of. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher of radical self-overcoming, would say that by succumbing to the ego, you are living in a state of slave morality. Nietzsche saw the ego as a reflection of weakness, a self-protective mechanism that avoids discomfort and challenges, refusing to confront the harsh realities of existence. According to Nietzsche, the authentic individual is one who rises above the ego, embraces suffering, and dares to create their own values. He famously proclaimed, "Become who you are," urging you to transcend the limitations imposed by societal norms, family expectations, and even your own past. In the modern world, however, Nietzsche's wisdom is often drowned out by the relentless pursuit of comfort and safety. The ego, in a sense, is now commodified. It's shaped by consumer culture, the the constant barrage of social media, and the societal expectation to be perfect, happy, and successful at all times. The more you identify with these external markers of identity, your career, your relationships, your wealth, your appearance, the more you entrench yourself in the ego. You define yourself by what you own, what you do, and what others think of you. You buy into the illusion that these things can fill the void inside of you, that they can make you whole. But here's the truth: they can't. As Aldous Huxley warned in his writings on human nature and society, this constant chase for external validation leaves us in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction. It's a cycle that repeats itself, as the more you seek to fulfill the ego, the more insatiable its needs become. The more you feed it, the more it grows, and the more it distances you from who you truly are. This psychological trap also has deep philosophical implications. Jean-Paul Sartre, in his exploration of existentialism, argued that humans are condemned to freedom, a freedom that comes with the weight of responsibility. Sartre believed that to live authentically, you must confront the fact that there is no predetermined essence of who you should be. You are free to choose, but this freedom is terrifying. The ego, then, becomes a shield against this terrifying freedom. It offers you a false sense of security by anchoring you to something external, something fixed. The ego tells you who you are, and in doing so, it keeps you from fully engaging with the deep, raw freedom of existence. But Sartre's existentialism is not just about rebellion, it's about confronting the absurdity of life head-on, without the crutches of illusion. And here lies the heart of the issue. Your ego is the ultimate crutch. It's a mental construct that shelters you from discomfort, from uncertainty, and from the terror of not knowing who you are or what you're supposed to do. What's more, the ego creates a sense of separation. It convinces you that you are distinct from others, that you are isolated from the world around you. This false sense of separation leads to alienation, anxiety, and fear. In fact, much of the emotional distress people experience can be traced back to the ego's relentless desire to defend this illusion of self. Every insecurity, every doubt, every defensive reaction is a consequence of the ego trying to protect itself from the world. So, the question becomes, what happens when you let go of this construct? What happens when you stop living for the ego and instead embrace something deeper, something more authentic? The truth is, the ego will never give up without a fight, but the consequences of letting it dictate your life are clear. You risk living a life that is small, confined, and disconnected from the true power that resides within you. But if you can see through the ego's illusion, if you can break free from its grip, you may just discover something more profound, something that cannot be bound by time, status, or even identity itself. Imagine that you've lived your entire life through the lens of the ego, always striving to protect your self-image, to build and maintain the identity you've created. For years, it has felt like you were on a quest, like each step you took was one closer to the person you ought to be. But here's the kicker: you've been building a prison, not a sanctuary. The more you try to protect this fragile ego, the more it isolates you from the real experiences, connections, and growth you're capable of. You see, the ego doesn't just limit your potential in obvious ways, it operates in the shadows of your mind, subtly directing your decisions and actions, often without you even knowing it. It's a constant force, pulling you toward safety, toward validation, and away from anything that might threaten the carefully crafted image of who you believe yourself to be. And here's where the real danger lies. Your potential is never truly reached, because you're always protecting the wrong thing. Take a moment and think about how often you make decisions based on fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood. You're not making these choices consciously. You're simply reacting to the pressure of keeping the ego intact. You're avoiding discomfort, evading risks, and keeping your life neat and predictable. But as Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, powerfully argued, the meaning of life often emerges from suffering and adversity, not from avoiding it. When you constantly protect the ego, you are avoiding the very experiences that would allow you to grow and evolve. In fact, research in psychology and neuroscience reveals that the more you cling to your ego, the more you reinforce certain cognitive biases that keep you trapped in self-limiting patterns. One of the most insidious is the confirmation bias, your tendency to seek out and interpret information in a way that validates your existing beliefs and self-image. This is why it's so easy to remain stuck in a loop of comfort, constantly surrounding yourself with people, ideas, and situations that affirm who you think you are. The ego makes it nearly impossible to challenge your own beliefs, This self-reinforcing pattern also affects the way you perceive others. You see them not for who they truly are, but through the lens of your ego, constantly comparing, judging, and categorizing based on your own self-interests. You might feel jealous of someone's success, resentful of their freedom, or threatened by their authenticity. All of this stems from the fragile ego's need to protect its position. Your identity becomes so rigid, so insistent, that you cannot see others as equals, as fellow human beings navigating their own struggles and growth. In relationships, the ego's grip manifests in ways you might not even notice at first. You feel compelled to be right, to prove your worth, or to seek validation from others. The ego tells you that if you are loved, praised, or admired, then you are valuable. But this creates a cycle of dependency. You can never truly connect with another person when you are constantly seeking something from them. Every interaction becomes transactional. You're not engaging with them as a fellow human being, but as an extension of your ego's need for validation. And in the process, real intimacy, real human connection slips away. The impact doesn't end there. As you continue to live through the ego, it becomes increasingly difficult to face the deep, existential questions that lie at the heart of human experience. Who am I, really? Without the protective walls of the ego, who would you be? The ego convinces you that it's a threat to entertain such thoughts. It keeps you distracted, busy with external achievements, with material pursuits, or with surface-level conversations, all while avoiding the deeper call of your own soul. But the truth is, the ego cannot answer those questions. Only by stepping outside of it, only by shedding its layers, can you begin to explore the truth of who you really are. On a societal level, the consequences of ego-driven behavior are just as profound. We live in a world that thrives on competition, comparison, and division. The ego has become the driving force behind the systems of power, capitalism, and consumerism that shape our culture. We are encouraged to measure our worth by external markers, our possessions, our status, our online personas, reinforcing the ego's dominance. This creates a society where genuine connection, compassion, and empathy are often sacrificed in the pursuit of individual success and recognition. But the most damaging consequence of all is the disconnection it fosters, not just from others, but from the very essence of life itself. The ego convinces you that you are separate from the world, from the people around you, from the universe at large. It tells you that you must compete, protect, and defend. In doing so, it traps you in a world of isolation and fear. This unseen force is subtle, but its impact is vast. Every time you make a decision based on ego, every time you react defensively or seek validation, you are reinforcing the very boundaries that prevent you from experiencing true freedom, fulfillment, and growth. The ego is an invisible hand, shaping your life in ways you may not even realize until, one day, you wake up and wonder, why does everything feel so limited? But the question still remains, what can you do about it? How do you escape the silent grip of the ego? The good news is that there is a way out. There is a path to freedom if you're willing to confront the ego head-on. In the next section, we'll explore how you can begin to break free from this invisible trap and start living a life of true potential. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, endless expanse, a wide open field stretching out in front of you. For years, you've been tethered by invisible chains, each link forged by your ego, your need to be validated, to be right, to be someone, to be accepted. But in this moment, you feel something stir inside you, a desire for something more, something that is not dependent on the fragile walls of your ego, something that has always been there but was hidden, drowned out by the noise of your own fears and insecurities. To break free from the grip of your ego, you must first accept the radical truth. The ego does not want to change. It wants safety, certainty, and control. It will fight you every step of the way, telling you that you need it, that without it, you'll be lost, insignificant, or worse, unworthy. But here's the paradox. It is only by shedding the ego that you can become who you truly are. Nietzsche, the philosopher who famously proclaimed, "Become who you are," understood this tension better than anyone. He believed that to live authentically, you must be willing to let go of the ego and embrace something deeper, the will to power, which is not about domination or control, but about the power to create your own values, to shape your own destiny. This power, however, is only accessible once you confront the truth of who you are beneath the ego, the raw, untamed core of your existence. But how do you begin this radical process of self-overcoming? How do you tear down the false self you've built and step into something more authentic? First, you must begin with awareness. The ego thrives in darkness, in the unconscious, where it can pull the strings of your life without you even realizing it. To break free, You need to bring it into the light, to see it for what it truly is. Start by noticing your reactions, those defensive, reactive moments when you feel threatened, judged, or misunderstood. Pay attention to when your identity feels under attack, whether it's someone questioning your beliefs, challenging your opinions, or not giving you the recognition you think you deserve. These moments are the ego's battleground. The more you notice these instances, the more you can begin to understand how the ego is shaping your every move. But awareness alone is not enough. You must also accept the discomfort that comes with letting go of the ego. The ego is a comfort zone, a shield that keeps you from facing your fears, your weaknesses, and your deepest insecurities. To break free, you must be willing to step into the unknown, to embrace uncertainty, to challenge the very notion of who you think you are. This requires a willingness to be vulnerable, to risk looking foolish, to fail, and to not know. In short, you must be willing to experience the freedom that comes from letting go of the need for control. One powerful way to do this is through shadow work, a concept that Jung developed to help individuals confront and integrate the hidden aspects of their psyche. The shadow is everything that the ego represses, the parts of you that are uncomfortable, undesirable, or inconvenient. But when you choose to face these parts instead of hiding from them, you begin to reclaim your wholeness. You stop being ruled by the unconscious fears and desires that the ego projects onto the world. Shadow work requires courage, but it is in this work that you discover the untapped potential that lies just beneath the surface. Take, for example, someone who has spent their life building a successful career, accumulating wealth, and seeking approval. On the outside, they seem to have it all together, but inside, there is a gnawing sense of dissatisfaction and emptiness that success cannot fill. The ego has convinced them that their worth is tied to external achievements. But when they are finally brave enough to confront their shadow, the insecurity, the fear of failure, the unacknowledged pain, they begin to see something else. They are more than what they do, more than what they own. Breaking free from the ego also means letting go of the societal scripts that have shaped you. In our modern world, these scripts are everywhere, promises of happiness, success, and belonging that are tied to external markers, the right career, the perfect partner, the ideal body. But none of these external achievements will ever bring you the inner peace and satisfaction you crave. True fulfillment comes from stepping outside of these roles and creating your own. Consider the lives of individuals like Viktor Frankl, who found meaning even in the most unimaginable circumstances. Frankl was a concentration camp survivor, and in his experience, he discovered that the ultimate freedom comes from the ability to choose how we respond to life's challenges, how we perceive our suffering, and how we find meaning in it. Frankl understood that, even in the darkest moments, the ego's grip can be loosened when we refuse to identify with it. In his words, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. This is where the true rebellion begins, not in fighting the world or others, but in fighting the ego within yourself. It's about reclaiming your freedom, your authenticity, and your capacity to create meaning in your life. And in doing so, you'll find that the world around you begins to shift. 2. As you shed the false self you've been carrying, you become more connected to others, more present, and more alive. You are no longer defined by what you do, what you have, or what others think of you. You become, as Nietzsche would say, a creator of your own values. But it's not just about finding inner peace. Breaking free from the ego also means embracing the full range of human experience, the joy, the pain, the chaos, and the beauty. The ego keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. To live fully, you must be willing to risk everything. The true power comes when you realize that there is nothing to lose. Now, as we approach the final realization, we can ask, what does this freedom look like? What is the ultimate truth that awaits beyond the ego's grip? The answers lie in a deeper understanding of who you are and what you are capable of. In the final section, we will explore the ultimate revelation that will change everything you thought you knew about your potential and your place in the world. You stand at the precipice now, looking out across the vast, uncharted territory that stretches before you. The ego, once a towering fortress that kept you safe, has crumbled. Its walls have fallen away, and with them, so have the limitations that once defined who you thought you were. The world before you is no longer a maze of confusion and fear, but an open field of possibility, a canvas, untouched and ready to be painted by your deepest desires, your truest self. In this moment, you experience something profound, something that transcends all logic and reason. You are not your ego. You never were. The truth is, your ego was merely a shadow, a distorted reflection of the person you were always meant to become. It was a social construct, a survival mechanism, designed to navigate the world in ways that kept you comfortable. But it was never the full picture of who you are. The real you was always buried beneath that fragile mask, waiting for you to peel back the layers, confront the discomfort, and face the abyss within. But what is this truth? What does it mean to be free of the ego? To understand this, you must grasp one of the most radical insights of human existence. You are not separate from the world. In our modern world, the ego convinces you that you are an isolated, individual entity alone in your struggles, your desires, your dreams. But this illusion of separation is the greatest lie. You are a part of the whole. You are woven into the fabric of existence, inseparable from the vast web of life that connects everything and everyone. As Carl Jung would say, you are a microcosm of the greater universe, a reflection of the entire cosmos, condensed into the unique expression of your being. When you shed the ego's false boundaries, you realize that the divisions you once saw between yourself and others, between me and you, are illusory. You are the world, and the world is you. This is the ultimate realization, the one that strips away all pretense and reveals the infinite potential that has always been within you. You no longer need to fight for validation, for identity, or for belonging. You already belong. You already are. This realization is not abstract. It is visceral. It is felt in every fiber of your being. When you stop identifying with the ego, you open yourself to a deeper sense of connection with others, with nature, and with the universe itself. There is no longer any need to defend, to prove, or to seek. You are at peace, because you are in tune with the flow of life, accepting both its beauty and its chaos, its joy and its pain. At this point, something astonishing happens. You begin to embrace life's uncertainties. Where once you were paralyzed by fear and doubt, you now move forward with a sense of freedom, a liberation that only comes from recognizing that nothing external can define you. Your life is not about accumulating, achieving, or maintaining a self-image. It is about experiencing, growing, and becoming who you are meant to be. Every moment becomes an opportunity to explore, to expand, and to allow your true self to emerge, unshackled by the ego's need for control. But this shift is not merely philosophical. It's profoundly practical. The ego, with its obsession for safety and certainty, often keeps you locked in patterns of inaction, avoidance, and self-sabotage. By releasing its grip, you unlock your capacity for creative action. You no longer fear failure, because you realize it is not a reflection of your worth, but a necessary part of growth. You are no longer bound by the need to be perfect or right. You can simply be, and in that being, you discover your truest potential. This is not an overnight change. It is not a one-time awakening. It is an ongoing process of letting go of the ego's grip, of shedding the layers that have accumulated over years, even lifetimes. But with each step, you move closer to something more profound, something more real. You become the person you were always meant to be, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. In this freedom, there is a deep, almost mystical kind of peace. As you experience the world without the weight of the ego, you begin to realize something extraordinary. Everything you thought you were seeking was always within you. The happiness, the love, the fulfillment. It was never about external achievements. It was always about shedding the illusion of separation, of limitation. It was about reconnecting with the boundless potential that resides within you. And here, in this moment of clarity, the ultimate truth is revealed. The ego is the very thing that has kept you from your true power. It has been a barrier, a lens through which you saw the world, but it was never the full picture. The ego cannot contain the vastness of your potential. It is a tool, yes, but it should not be your master. As you move forward from this realization, you will see the world anew. You will see others not as competitors, not as threats, but as fellow travelers on the same journey. You will see your struggles not as personal failures, but as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. You will no longer be trapped by the need for external validation or approval. You will be free. This freedom is not a destination. It is a process, a constant unfolding, a perpetual becoming. But once you glimpse the truth of who you are, the ego's grip on you begins to loosen, and you are finally able to live a life of depth, purpose, and authentic power. The ultimate truth is this: you are not the ego, you are the infinite potential that lies beneath it. And when you tap into this truth, you begin to live not from a place of fear and limitation, but from a place of infinite possibility. As you take your first steps into this new way of being, remember this: you are free, and that freedom is the gateway to everything you've ever desired.